part of the United Kingdom, Northern Ireland is only 5,400 square miles in size, which represents 1/6 of the island of Ireland. But what it lacks in size, it makes up for in many other ways. Within a couple of hours of the capital city of Belfast, there are countless things to do and places to explore. In the northwest, you'll find the historic city of Derry, the only remaining completely walled city in Ireland. Derry also happens to be an ideal launching point for the Causeway Coast, a magical coastline where the Atlantic Ocean, Irish Sea, and a rich history collide. While Northern Ireland's coast is a huge draw, the rolling hills, small towns, and sheltered lochs offer a very different and intimate Irish experience. I came here to explore the waterways by kayak, but I quickly discovered that there's much more to Northern Ireland than epic shorelines, and I found myself falling deep into a wonderful culture with a vibrant history and an adventurous spirit. Paddle Tales was produced with support from NRS, Aquabound, Wiley X, and Packyak. Having arrived in Derry, I've hooked up with Lorcan from Far and Wild Adventures, and I'm heading out on their foodie tour to get my first real taste of Northern Ireland. So what is the plan for today?
Oh, the plan is to look at food, Ken.
I like the sounds of that.
The fuel that keeps us going. And look at, I suppose, progeny, like where that food comes from in this particular location in Derry. And we're going to visit some lovely places to eat.
All right. Twist my arm.
So the walled city is one of the terms used to refer to the settlement here, and that's because the plantation of Ulster that took place in the 17th century, the early 1600s, built an intact walled city which still remains. It's one of the few remaining walled cities in Europe, and it's one of those icons that most tourists will come across on a day visit to Derry.
There are two types of people in this world. There's people who start the day with savory, and then there's people who start the day with sweet. Oh yeah.
The food experience is really much more than just the quality of the food. It's kind of like when you go camping and you have a dehydrated meal, but it tastes like the best thing ever. And that's because of the environment you're in and the state you're in. And the same thing applies in the city. You do need great food, but when that's accompanied by a unique environment and a state, then it really enhances the whole food experience. How cool is this?
Yeah, a big bus.
Well,
Yeah.
what's the ticket here?
Well, this is genuine Derry street food, and I recommend the tacos.
Squid?
Yeah.
Good tacos, I'm in.
Squid tacos, yeah.
I think a key metric for food is whether you need to shower afterwards. If you do, then
It's been good.
oh yeah, I think I'm gonna need a shower after. Wow. Well, I just had the best taco of my life. I could do this foodie tour all day long, but the water is calling. The Causeway Coast is not far downstream, and so it's time to get my first taste of paddling. To get my first taste of Irish paddling, I find myself gearing up in the small town of Ballycastle, where I'm launching to explore an iconic section of Ireland's coast called the Causeway Coast. To show me the way, I've hooked up with Lorcan McBride from Far and Wild Adventures, who regularly guides trips in the area and who knows these waters as well as anyone.
And the water's actually...
It's quite warm, isn't it?
Yeah. I was expecting it to be a little cooler.
Yeah.
Well, getting my feet wet for the first time in Ireland. This is the North Antrim coast, not too far from the Giant's Causeway, and it's already spectacular. This is going to be good. I don't get to paddle on the ocean very often. I live about, well, 1,500 kilometers or 1,000 miles from the ocean. And so every time I do paddle on the ocean, there's a sense of excitement. You're entering this whole new world, this whole new environment, and it's a very big, big world. Oh yeah. When I picture the dramatic Irish coastline, this is what I pictured.
It really is quite a spectacular coastline. It's a feisty one as well, as you can feel today. We've got it in a fairly quiet day. Yesterday and tomorrow wouldn't be as pleasant for us. So you really have to choose your moments and respect, I suppose, the conditions.
Yeah.
Lots of forces at work.
For me, there's no better way to experience an environment than from the water. And when you're along a coast, the sea kayaking perspective really is unique. It's so immersive. You're right in the environment. You're moving with it, and you're part of the environment. You're not just looking at it, you're part of it.
So Far and Wild run a Causeway sea kayaking tour right along the Causeway Coast. So it takes in a lot of different features, a lot of different places, in quite a wild environment. It is accessible to absolute beginners, mostly in the summer season. Perhaps from May through to September. It's forgiving, put it that way. Outside of that, it gets a wee bit difficult to paddle unless you've got a lot of kayaking experience. But for the beginner, it's the kind of place that you can look at from the top of a cliff line or from a car park and think, wouldn't it be amazing to be in that water, kayaking along? And once you get in it, you become connected in a much different way with the landscape, what it's saying, what it's about, and you learn more. Effectively, the closer you are to it, the more you're learning.
As we travel further west along the Causeway Coast, the swell grows in size, and the shoreline becomes a rock garden, the ultimate playground for expert paddlers. These aren't conditions that Lorcan can take many clients into, but today, it's our turn to play.
When we're guiding trips, we don't take people out in conditions where we feel they won't be able to be in control and to have an enjoyable experience. And today was a bit more exciting than normal in that the sea had a good bit of swell in it, and we were trying to make our way through areas that were fairly chopped up.
Lorcan and I are, I'd say, we're cut from the same cloth in that when we see narrows or pinch points between rocks or channels, and there's some breaking water in there, they're a little chaotic, but we're like moths drawn to the flame. You just have to go explore and see, can we get in there? Well, one thing that you remember very quickly paddling in the ocean with swell like this is how small you are and how big Mother Nature is.
When you're open water sea kayaking, everything around you is fairly straightforward. You've got no obstacles. When you decide to rock hop, you're kind of putting yourself into a little bit of danger to kind of explore more. And on a calm day, it's completely fine. You know, you might get really good visibility. When there's a bit of swell in the ocean, then that can turn round a bit. You can have like lots of water pouring over the top of some of the rocks. You can have these kind of push throughs where the wave gets compressed and kind of jacks up way high. And as long as you can handle it, it's a really enjoyable experience. You know, every day is different on the Causeway for sure.
What a way to get your feet wet in Ireland. What a day. We're on the North Antrim coastline, and we didn't make it to the giant causeway, but did not need to. This whole coastline is spectacular, but we got a lot more adventures. So it's time to call an end to this day and get ready for tomorrow. I have to send a big thanks to Lorcan from Far and Wild for keeping things spicy today, showing me his backyard. And if you're curious about this boat that I flew here from North America with, this is the Kayaking, and I did a full review of this kayak. I'll leave a link in the description box down below to that one. Otherwise, stay tuned for more paddling adventures, tips, and gear reviews, and more from Ireland.